Hi. In this month's vlog, we're going to, in honor of our new motorcycle accident page, have a little discussion about the best ways to be safe while you're on a motorcycle. I hope that this will apply both to motorcycle riders, but also to car drivers, so that they can have a better understanding of the way motorcyclists look at the road and hopefully prevent accidents. I have taken this advice from an excellent article written by Wes Seiler in February of 2017 and found on the website Ride Apart. A lot of these things are things I know of from handling motorcycle accidents, but Wes delivered this advice in a straightforward manner that I think is useful, and will work well for our purposes here today. But the credit goes to him and the site Ride Apart. This is an article entitled 10 Common Motorcycle Accidents and How to Avoid Them. Number one, a car turns left in front of you. That is the most common type of motorcycle accident. It occurs because the vehicle simply does not see the motorcycle or potentially does not assess the motorcycle's speed accurately. And the bottom line here is I'm going to tell you a quick story that my dad told me when I was a kid. We were out for a bike ride. We were going around the neighborhood. We were approaching a driveway and a guy was backing out. And I just kind of kept going right past the driveway. The driver didn't hit me. But my dad pulled me over and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, we have the right of way. We're the bicyclist. He's supposed to look." And my dad says, "Yeah, I know we have the right of way. And what good does that do you if this guy runs you over? Not a thing. So put it on yourself to avoid the accident." And of course, this doesn't apply just to the motorcyclist. It applies to the drivers around the motorcyclist as well. But as Wes says, how to avoid when a car turns left in front of you, you got to see it coming. And he's right, because you're in the best position to keep yourself safe. And another reason why we're going over this is because motorcyclists, when they bring a cause of action for personal injury, are at a bit of a deficit. There is a public perception that maybe you deserve a little bit of what you got because you were out there on a motorcycle. You assumed the risk of getting hit and getting injured. This is unfair, but it is a bias that exists that as an attorney I need to be aware of and address. The point is that when you're in these situations, you do need to look at, from a motorcyclist standpoint, the fact that even a car that isn't really doing anything but maybe waiting to turn left and is a relatively innocuous situation can become dangerous quickly. In those circumstances, you have to be diligent. Get your hand on your brake, maybe even brake a little bit. Do everything you can to make sure that if that car doesn't see you, if it happens, you're going to be able to at least take some type of evasive action, hopefully something other than laying the bike down, which is always a last resort. Two, you hit gravel in a blind corner. He also talks about 3, you take a corner too fast. They're kind of part and parcel of the same thing. I mean, the fact that you come around a corner, you can't see a hazard, and then boom, there it is. The only way that you can put yourself in a position to safely navigate that is to make sure you enter that corner slowly. Enter the corner slowly, exit the corner fast. It's a very common motorcycle rule. It's the same way you would drive a motor vehicle or car, and it's the best way to keep yourself safe around corners. Number 4, a car changes lanes into you. The only thing that you can do as a motorcyclist here is don't hang out in a car or a truck's blind spot. A blind spot can cover up an entire car. If it can do that, it can cover up a bike or even 2 bikes. And be aware of when you're in that situation. Try to avoid it. You're inevitably going to be in it for some length of time. Try to keep that length of time short. A car hits you from behind. Well, all I can tell you there, and Wes does provide a decent piece of advice I frankly would not have thought of, which is move over in the lane if you see a car coming up on you like that, or potentially get in front of another car and use the car as a crumple zone so you don't get hit. But the better way is to prevent the situation from occurring, and that is driving and riding with the idea that you need to give that person behind you a pretty decent amount of warning. So if you hit the brakes fast, they have to hit the brakes fast. If you're always hitting the brakes slow and being a little bit more cautious, you've got a much better chance of controlling the behavior of the driver behind you. Number 6, in Wes's words, your riding buddies are idiots. Make sure that everybody who's in your group understands your game plan for riding etiquette and for riding in a staggered formation so that you don't enhance the dangers by being too close to one another while riding. Number 7, you lock up the front brake. Something comes in front of you, you try to stop quickly, and locking up that front brake can be very dangerous. Wes's best advice is, before you get in that situation, practice using that front brake on your own in a safe parking lot until you really have the feel for it that you need, so that you can use it to your best advantage and it doesn't become something more dangerous than it needs to be. 8, a car opened its door. I'm going to read you the quote from Wes. Never, ever, ever, ever ride between an active traffic lane and parked cars. Not just because of the opening doors thing, but because pedestrians step out, cars pull out so they can see, and for a million other reasons, just don't do it. And I have to say, I think he's probably dead on correct. Number 9, it's slippery. Well, that's true. It's certainly a concern of a motorcyclist when you have wet weather or snowy weather. But Wes points out that your motorcycle is actually going to operate pretty well as long as it's in good working order and you have appropriate tires and the like. Keep your eye out for things that might be made of metal, manhole covers, any grating, any covers on the road for potholes or during constructions, as of course the metal becomes much, much more slippery than concrete. And also, a word of advice that I was also given when I first learned to drive, and I think is smart to know, the roads are most slippery directly after a rain. So if it's been raining all day, they're going to be less slippery than in the hour after the rain starts, and that's because that rain is mixing and conjuring up all of the oil and other things that have dripped onto the road, and that dissipates as the rain continues. And last, and we address this extensively in our webpage as well, various studies from the 1980s up to the present show that a very large percentage of motorcycle accidents involve intoxication on behalf of the motorcyclist. Drinking and driving is simply not acceptable in our time, and it will just kill your chances of getting a recovery, even if you're not the one who did anything wrong. You can be stopped at a stoplight, drunk as a skunk, and somebody else hits you. It's all their fault. But that's going to taint. That information may very well come in on your case, and it's going to taint the jury against you and potentially doctors against you. It's just the whole thing is really not where you want to be. We have Uber, we have other options. Don't drink and drive. It's just never a good decision. Not that it ever was, but it certainly isn't now. Thank you very much. Wiener and Lamke, we appreciate your time. I hope this helped you, and if we can be of assistance, our consultations are always free. We're happy to talk with people about their potential claims. We don't take most of the calls that we get, but those that we do, we provide a very good service for those folks. And hey, the call's free. You don't have anything to lose. Feel free to give us a jingle. Thanks so much.